Hi, it's Mimi. Let's do chapter 3 of The Wizard of Oz. Let's read to all of our friends. Who's out there today? Aria, Zachary, and Colin. Hi, I just spoke to Pop-Up George. I'm so glad you're visiting in Maryland. That's wonderful. Hi, Kayla and kids. Hi, Hannah and Noah. Noah, I saw your picture of the dinosaur. You are quite an artist. Good morning, Zayra and Oliver. Hi, Iris. Hi, Samantha and Danny. Hi, Sam and Henry. Hey, Matea and Madeline. Okay, let's get started. We're going to do chapter 3 today. The chapter is called Two Others Join the Party. This page, it's just black and white, but then there'll be some pages that do have color pictures on the next page. This is a very old-fashioned book. Let's enjoy a good story. We're going to start out with our friend Dorothy. Here she is. Hi, Dorothy. Let's see who you're going to join today, Dorothy. When Dorothy awoke, the sun was shining. Toto had gone out to chase birds, but the Scarecrow was still patiently waiting. Remember, he had joined her last time? When they were ready to start again, Dorothy was surprised to hear a deep groan just behind them in the woods. And looking about, she saw something shining in a ray of sunlight. Turning back to look, she stopped short in her tracks with a cry. One of the big trees had been partially chopped through, and standing beside it with an uplifted axe was a man made entirely of tin. Do you know who that was? Right, the Tin Man. His head, arms, and legs were fastened with joints to his body, entirely of tin, and Dorothy and the Scarecrow stared at him in amazement, while Toto barked and tried to nip his leg. "Did you groan just now?" "I certainly did," said the man. "I've been groaning here for more than a year. Yet no one has ever heard me or come to help. My joints are rusted so badly. I cannot move. If you will fetch the oil can for me, I shall soon be good as new." Dorothy, touched by his sad voice, rushed to get the oil can, and together she, Dorothy, and the Scarecrow, together they oiled the man carefully. First his neck, then his arms, then his legs, and moved them gently until they were free. "You have certainly saved my life," he said, thanking them. "But how do you happen to be here?" Here's the picture at the bottom. Dorothy explained that they were on their way to ask the Great Oz to help her get home to Kansas and give the Scarecrow some brains. "Ah," said the Tin Man, "do you think if I went along, he could give me a heart?" What do you think they're going to say? Dorothy said she thought a heart was as easy to supply as brains, so the Tin Man asked politely if he might join the party. They said, of course. So he shouldered his axe and went along with them on the road of yellow brick. It soon became evident that the Tin Man was very helpful to the party because he could cut any interfering tree branches out of their way. And Mimi brought over some branches. And that would happen, wouldn't it, if you were walking through the woods? He was very talkative after his long, lonely vigil. And without much urging, he told them how he happened to be made of tin. "I haven't any brains either," he said to the Scarecrow. So the Scarecrow doesn't have a brain, and the Tin Man doesn't have a brain. "But they are not as important as a heart, which I need badly. I wasn't always made of tin, as so I know. I met my misfortunes," he continued, "because when my mother died, I wanted to marry, but the girl I had chosen for my bride was the niece of a lazy old woman who found her too useful to lose. The old woman went to the Wicked Witch of the East for help and bribed her to stop the marriage." What does that mean, bribed her? Whisper to someone next to you if you know what that means, to bribe someone. I'll wait. Right, to give them money to make them do something. So the wicked witch accepted the gifts and put a curse on me. And she put a curse on my axe, so every time I lifted it, my work, it turned against me and cut off some part of me. Fortunately, I had a friend who was a tin man. And just as soon as I lost a part of myself, such as an arm or a leg, he very cleverly replaced it with a tin part that worked on joints. That was clever. Finally, there was nothing left to cut off, but the enchanted axe was made to slip one final time and cut my body in two. My friend put me together again, but of course I was hollow now, and that's how I happened to have no heart and thus lost all my love for the girl. Do you have a heart? Where's your heart? And with your heart, can you love people? Right, who do you love? Right, I know, Oliver, you love Zara. I know you do. I was able to get around and do my work after that, but I always feared the danger of rusting. As soon as I realized this, I got an oil can and I kept it in the cottage. One day I was unexpectedly caught in a rainstorm and began to rust. Before I could get to the cabin, I would hate to think what it would have been like without your fortunate assistance. I would certainly like to be in love again, for it was very nice, and that is why I want a heart so much. This story had moved the listeners deeply, but soon the Tin Man and the Scarecrow began to argue about which was more valuable, heart or brains, and Dorothy wisely did not take a side. Well, what do you think, boys and girls? I'll wait a minute. What do you think's more important, heart or brains? It's kind of a funny question, isn't it? I know, you need to have both, don't you? When they took up their journey again, it was very still in the forest. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a roar, and a great lion bounded into the road before them. With one blow of his paw, he sent the Scarecrow spinning and then struck at the Tin Woodman. But to the lion's surprise, he could not even dent the tin, although the Tin Woodman did fall down. And here's our lion. Little Toto ran barking toward the lion. The beast opened his jaws to bite him, but Dorothy, heedless of her own danger, rushed forward just in time and slapped the lion sharply on the nose, crying out, "You ought to be ashamed of yourself. A big thing like you biting a poor little dog." "I didn't bite him," said the lion, rubbing his nose with a paw. "No, but you tried to," the little girl retorted. What does that mean? Sammy, do you know? Right, answered. "You are nothing but a big coward." "Aw, I know it," murmured the lion, hanging his head. "I've always known it, but not how to help it. I'm also sorry about those other two." "It happens they aren't hurt, but no thanks to you," scolded Dorothy. "What makes you a coward, I wonder? You are almost as big as a horse." "That's a mystery," replied the lion. "I suppose I was born that way, and it is very embarrassing, because all the other wild animals naturally expect me to be brave. The lion is called the king of beasts, you know. But I have learned that if I roar loudly enough, every living thing is frightened and gets out of my way. Actually, if they ever tried to fight me, I would be the one to run." "Perhaps you have heart disease," suggested the Tin Woodman. "You have a heart, I suppose?" "I suppose I have," said the lion. "Everyone has." "Not I, alas," replied the Tin Woodman. "That's why I am going with these friends to see the great Wizard of Oz and ask him to give me one." When the others also told him of their hopes, the lion said, "Oh, do you think the great Oz would give me some courage if I asked him?" Do you think they'll give him some courage? Turn to someone next to you and tell them what you think. I'll wait. Sure. When the others also told him, Dorothy said, "Why not?" And then she added, "Why not join us on the rest of our journey? You would be quite a protection from other wild beasts who are actually more cowardly than you, and I think if they allow themselves to be scared so easily." The lion was delighted to accompany them. He admitted that his life was unbearable without a bit of courage. Do you have courage? What does courage mean? Yeah, I think you guys are very brave. The long journey was not always either so interesting or so comfortable as it had been. Sometimes they had to camp out for the night, and it was very fortunate that the Tin Woodman could chop wood for a fire to warm and cheer them. Food was a problem for now, but they could chop wood for the fire, and now Dorothy's basket was quite empty. But the Scarecrow hunted about until he found a nut tree, and he was able to fill the basket with food again. And here's some nuts to put in the basket. The next day brought more trouble, for they came to a great ditch which divided the forest and made further progress impossible. The lion, who believed he was a coward, however, came to the rescue. He thought he could leap the ditch, and indeed he could and did, back and forth, carrying each one safely over on his back. Was that a good plan? And here's a picture of it. After 3 more days of walking and camping with the Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman, who didn't need sleep, to guard them at night, and with berries and nuts to eat, the road took them to the edge of a broad and shining river, on the other side of which they could see a beautiful country. But the river was much too wide for the lion to leap, and there were no trees big enough to make a bridge. They sat down in discouragement for a few moments, but then the Scarecrow noticed that there were some strong saplings growing around them, and he suggested to the Tin Man that he chop some of them so that they could make a raft and poles. What's a sapling? Sammy, I think you know. Henry? Right, it's a little tree. They set right to work, but night came on, so it took longer than they expected. Making a good raft is a big job that must be done carefully. And that is the end of chapter 3. For now, we will stop here. So what could you do? Could you make a little raft? Could you go outside and get some branches? And can you tie them together and try to make them into a raft? Or maybe if you have some popsicle sticks, you could glue those together and make a little raft. That would be fun. So I'd love you to draw me a picture of the new characters we met today. Can you draw the lion? And of course you're going to draw the Scarecrow and Dorothy and the Tin Man. I'd love to see your illustrations. Can you write a sentence to go with it? Or you can even make it into a story. Well, I'll look forward to seeing yours, and tell Mom and Dad they can text it to me or email it, and I will share it with the other boys and girls listening. Have a great day. I loved reading to you. Love from Mimi. Bye.